Okay. So, um, last part that we left off of, we were doing CSS, but now we're just going to sort of like just feed it a lot of pre-coded JavaScript that I provided for you guys. I'm not going to go through every little thing about JavaScript. Honestly, it's too much to cover in just like one sitting. But you can always just like look through it yourself, dissect it yourself, try to understand it. Um, Also, like one thing you can do is just feed it into ChatGPT, ask for it to explain it, and it will do a lot better thing. Honestly, it might even like roast me a bit because I just like coded it up on a uh caffeine episode basically. But yeah, so when we were doing part one and part two, there was something wrong in the documentation that hopefully will be fixed once like you guys have this repo. But what you want to add is a button. You're going to give it a type because when you're doing HTML tags, and you make a button, every button needs a type, just so I guess mainly for accessibility reasons, but also for like readability reasons. Like you want to know what that button is without having to like dig through every file. But this button, all it is a button. It's not a menu button. It's not a reset button. It's not a submit button, which the submit is usually reserved for like forms. So just feed it a type of button, and you're gonna feed it a class of I will call this shiny button. I believe it's that. Uh, and the reason why we're calling it a shiny button is because this button, when we click on this little guy, there's going to be a button here. We want to see the shiny version of it. If you're familiar with Pokemon games, shinies are just like rare Pokemon that have a different color scheme than like their like default counterpart, right? And using the API, using JavaScript, we will like take all of that and just like make this button do magic basically and convert this default color scheme into like the shiny color scheme. And also through like JavaScript also it's going to change not the entirety of the stylings of the template card or of the cards for the new Pokemon that we're going to be loading in, but it's going to change like the color scheme of everything so that matches with the types of the Pokemon. So like this grass type, it should be like a green instead of a red. Red would be more like fire type, right? But honestly, that's just me being a little nerd. So JavaScript, yeah, if you go into this file, in the project, you're gonna have two JavaScript files. One's helpers, one's script. I That's just the way I separated things. I didn't want to like overload this file with a bunch of functions, what are called functions. Functions are essentially just like little code snippets that you can reuse every time without having to like code everything inside of it. So imagine this like create card. We wouldn't want to use create card every single time we want to like, or we wouldn't want to code this up every single time we want to like make a new card, right? So that's what functions are for basically. Same thing with the helpers. These helpers, they're inside this helpers.js. And these are just, again, reusable functions, but these serve a different purpose than the actual script. So that's why they are in the helpers file. But yeah, so I'm not going to go through everything. There is a main function, a function that's going to be, this should be removed. Uh, don't pay attention to that. There is a main function that will be like running this entire script. This is how I like to do things. I don't know if I wouldn't really call it like the standard. It's just more like a coordinator. This is what like coordinates everything that's gonna run and in what order they run. So that way, like in your main function and what eventually gets called, all you need to do is just like call one thing instead of calling like all these things, right? But if you see it grayed out the way I'm seeing it right now, it's because it's something called it's commented out. That just means that like everything that's in gray, JavaScript is not paying attention to. And so I have some steps that we need to do, sort of like for you to understand what this is doing. And so uh with the JavaScript, we're calling this API that's like calling a bunch of data. And I can actually show you what that looks like if you go to the helpers file and you get this URL. And then you go to your browser, and this is actually a public API. And so you can like go to this, and this is an extension I have on my browser. You're probably going to see the raw data, which is this, but this is how the data is formatted, right? And this is just serving up a bunch of, well, I have the limit set to the original 151, but you can change the limit. That's just how the API was designed, and that's like something that's like more advanced, right? But it's just giving you a bunch of what's called objects, or you can think of them as items that hold two values. It holds a name and a URL. And so if you go to the URL of one of the items, that's where it gives you like the details, right? So that's what the JavaScript is basically doing, like really simplified version of it. It's just calling this URL. And it's for every item, it's going, hey, if you have a URL, let me get that data. And so, yeah, that's how like the JavaScript is essentially working, right? And so as this like data is loading in, we don't want the user to see things just like appear suddenly, because if we, let me do this out of order. If we uncomment the create all cards, and then we go back to our document and refresh so that way we see things from the beginning. You can see that jitter, right? And you can see the template, it's getting removed. And if I was a user and I saw a website do that, I'd be like, what are they doing? Why are they doing that? That's just like, it's very odd. It's very disorientating. And as a web developer, there's actually like browsers like Chrome, which like Chrome, in case you don't know, is owned by Google. Google sort of like monopolizes, I guess, like search engine, or like not search engines, but a lot of people use Google basically. What I'm trying to say is like a lot of people use Google, and a lot of websites like fight for the right to be at the top of these like Google searches. And Google like actually ranks your websites and your applications based on different things. And one of them is what's called content layout shift. And this is essentially content layout shift. Imagine like every user seeing this. So we don't want that, right? It's basically what we're going to do is we're going to hide what's the main section, and using JavaScript, I'm targeting the main tag or the HTML tag with the main class. Lost myself. We're going to hide that before we load any data, right? And then we're going to like create all the cards. And then we're going to wait for all the cards to like finish loading. And we are then going to like show the main section, or the main like div tag that like holds everything, right? And so let me show you what that looks like now. There's nothing, and then there's something, right? You don't see that content layout shift. And that way, like Google, if you ever like do decide to deploy something, this is like something that you can like actually like think about and know. And like if you ever like want to make your own, I guess, $1 million or enterprise. Yeah, just like there's a lot of stuff that goes into front end development, like stuff like this, right? And so, like I mentioned, the shiny button changes the color scheme. It does that doodad. And then, yeah, here are all original 151. They are color coded, uh, depending on their type. And it's pretty cool. The only thing like I'm not happy about is when you refresh, you literally see nothing and then you see something. So I actually provided this remove loader, which one of these functions actually has like a loader for you. And in the index HTML, I have this loader.css. And so all of this is just really abstract. I'm just like uncommenting out, right? And one way to like uncomment it is to remove this stuff that this extra like fluff that is around these tags. And so there's that. And then I believe the loader CSS should have everything set to go. Hopefully it works. I added this last minute just to like hopefully make you guys proud of me. But yeah, so now instead of like seeing nothing, we see this loader. So that way like the user sees like, oh, okay, the website is doing something and now it did something, right? And that I didn't have to do much for it. In terms of JavaScript, all I did was like show this tag. Everything is being done with like CSS. And it's not even my own CSS. It's like CSS that I got from a resource that I'm actually going to show you guys in a minute. But the only custom CSS I did was like I positioned where I wanted it to be, and then using JavaScript, I like add a class to it. And I just tell it like when this class is added to it, I don't want it to show anymore, right? But the loader, it's all CSS and it's coming from this resource called CSS loaders, which has all of this like fantastic loaders that you don't need to do much for it. You just find the one you like, copy the CSS. It tells you how to like do it. And then I don't know if this will work because I tried earlier. They're not all compatible, but hopefully that works. Showed you. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of like resources out there for uh you that like there's a lot of pre-built stuff out there like this Pokemon API. Um I didn't go out and like write down every single little detail about all original 151 Pokemon. Like that's someone else did the work and I'm just like grabbing that work and like learning it into my own and I'm making it my own as well. Like I'm not just like copy pasting everything, right? I'm like at least adding some like originality to it. Uh, but same thing with like the loaders. There's so many resources out there, and I'll be sure to include some along with like the repo and video. But yeah, just like know you don't have to do everything by yourself. We are standing on the shoulders of giants, basically. Like people who came before us, they created everything just so like we have an easier time and not have to like reinvent the wheel every time. But yeah, and there's the finished product, guys. Like I hope you like it. I hope it was enough to like pique your interest in web development. If I got you to say, "Oh, that's cool," at least once, I mean, hopefully I did my job, right? But yeah, just know like web development doesn't have to be about boring websites either. You can make small, cool things, things that like you find interesting. Like I love games. I like Pokemon. And like I said, this was based off an actual like assignment I did in college. So like if you followed along and you did this, I mean, you're doing what I was doing essentially like my senior year. So congrats. You're already way ahead of where I was back then. And yeah, just like grow, I guess. Yeah. And that'll be it. Thank you for watching. Thanks for following along.